All right. Well, Emma Vigeland went on Piers Morgan and apparently showed, like, she actually really showed up, and she did the thing that I have been wanting every person from the left going on that show to do, and that's not let him railroad her with his BS, because he has this tendency to just, again, railroad his guests after they make pretty good points, and then he somehow gets the last word. Gee, and he always does it with this weird preface where he's like, well, I'm the host. It's like, that's bad hosting, because you're hosting a debate program, but notice how you're always the one who has to come out on top, or you're like, he always claims to also be a moderator, like an actual neutral moderator, but he's never neutral. He's always fighting for the right side. Again, I don't understand people like Tim Pool and Piers Morgan where they just can't accept that they are now right-wingers, or the fact that they are lumped in with these people. Like, I'm sorry. And then they literally just do it where they're just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not right-wing, or I don't think like that. But yeah, they totally do. So, but yeah, Emma, finding out that she was on the panel was pretty cool. So let's check out the panel.
We completely agree with each other. And before I ruin it by bringing up anything...
You see, right there, the sycophantic. See, we completely agree with each other, but he's not right-wing, folks.
Which could ruin the mood music. I'm going to leave it there and thank you. And how extraordinary that we basically found ourselves in the position where we feel exactly same way about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
weird.
Great
You're
to
doing
see
a
you,
great
Glenn.
job. Thank you very much.
All the best.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Well, joining me now is the host of the
Idiots.
Amala Ekpunobi Show, Amala Ekpunobi, the host of the Luke Beasley Show.
Oh, Beasley,
Luke
that
Beasley,
was who it was.
The co-host of the Majority Report,
Hey, there she
Emma
is.
Vigeland, and the Conservative commentator, Deborah Lee. Welcome to all of you.
You're telling me
It's
that
a
she's
fascinating time,
conservative?
isn't it,
No
to be
way.
alive? Because you've so many people like me. I never thought Glenn Beck and I would have a 15-minute chat where basically I nod my way through it, and so does he. Amala,
Yeah,
it feels to me, I mean,
okay.
just this dancing alone that is going
Didn't see
on
that
all over
coming.
America, and the lack of mass protests,
I hope you guys don't buy into his BS. I really don't. Like, come on.
feels very, very different to when Trump won last time. Are you sensing that?
Yes, 100%. And I think a lot of it has to do with the rhetoric that's been surrounding Trump. And I think this collective realization that we no longer have to be fearful of supporting this man, and we can actually be excited about his second term. You know, prior to
so she
this
sucks.
2024
Okay, cool.
election, he's been called
Good
a
to know. Cool,
fascist,
cool.
a dictator on day one, an authoritarian. He's been likened to Hitler. And I think that created an environment where a lot of people felt like they had to sort of speak in hushed tones about their support of Donald Trump. Some of the exit polls on election day found that young men in particular were more likely than any other demographic to sort of hide or lie about who they were supporting for president. And now that we've gone through this election cycle, the veil is lifted a little bit. People are coming out and they're dancing. They're talking about what this future could look like over the next 4 years. And I don't think they feel as afraid to speak up about these things. Even the media is going and speaking to Donald Trump. And these are publications that would have recently referred to him as Hitler or a fascist. So I think the tables are turning a little bit.
Well, they're even heading down there to kiss the ring, which I never thought I'd see from some of the MSNBC anchors. I mean, Luke Beasley, are you joining in the dancing? Are you secretly bopping away there to Young Man by Village People?
Absolutely not. I think
You've got to laugh at that. I mean, before I let you go, before you start, you have to laugh at the irony that the guy that everyone on the left calls the biggest bigot in America chose the #1 gay anthem as the one he would dance to on stage. I mean, come on. It's funny.
Heartwarming. So here's
Heartwarming.
what I wish some of you would engage with, which I haven't heard.
Or
After
maybe perhaps
Biden won,
they understand that they know what the song's about, and they don't care.
the MAGA side at large, Trump
they have to
himself,
know.
didn't accept. I haven't heard you, Piers, say, wow, it's so impressive that whenever our side loses,
I've always liked the construction worker. That's where I wore the orange vest. He's always been my favorite. They wouldn't let me wear the cool hat, though.
even though a lot of MAGA folks are saying, if the left loses, they're never going to accept it. They're going to riot this
I
time.
have
It's
said
going to be
that.
crazy. We actually accepted it.
Well, not only have I said that. Hang on, Luke. Hang on. Not only have I said that. I also said.
The point. Come
well,
on,
hang on.
like 2 seconds.
You challenged me. I'm going to respond to that one point, which is actually, I said to Trump's face, I thought it was disgraceful he didn't accept the election result. All right, and I did say that the Democrats deserve credit for the peaceful transfer. So you're completely wrong about that.
No, that during better Piers times you did do that, but I'm talking about just
better Piers
a general
times.
understanding.
You mean when you agreed with me?
I wish the MAGA side would do introspection and go, wow, it's not that the left is going, oh, we just love Trump now. It's that we're demonstrating to you what acting like an adult looks like and not lying about the election, not crying for years and years about it, and instead going, even though we still believe Trump has these fascistic tendencies, I still believe he's a threat to our democracy. I'm going to show you what caring about democracy looks. That's what Biden has done.
Let me respond.
That's what Kamala Harris has done.
Let me respond.
Go for it.
When you say you're not crying about it, you might not be. But all I've seen in the last 2 weeks are people, women in particular, all over TikTok, screaming, cutting their hair off, saying they're never going to have sex with the Trump voter again.
That's why the guy told me to shave my head and get a blue bracelet.
Because Elon Musk owns
where that came from.
Trump. From people like Bette Midler, Barbara Streisand, Don Lemon, you name it, off go the lefties. So I'm afraid there is a massive amount of toys out of the stroller going on. So, you know, you can say all you like. You say all like what great losers you are. All I've seen is a lot of squealing and resigning from platforms because they lost.
You're doing a huge disservice to your audience, putting on the same discussion, trying to overthrow an election, putting together fake electors to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, trying to get local officials to find fraudulent votes that don't exist. You're putting that on in the same category as people just being upset, like has happened every time people lose, always, in a way that's completely peaceful. And I've gone through this before on this show specifically, which is
weird how he focuses on that outrage, but not
power to really get a sense of the significant responses we're seeing to certain things. So when you look at powerful Democrats,
Axel Baker, oh my God, Morgan is such a douche.
With character and integrity, respect
not exactly
results.
A hot take.
Whereas Trump, him being the person in a position of power, not some random person on TikTok, didn't do that.
I agree. Listen, you know what, Luke? I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. So, you know, just for what it's worth, I agree with you. Let me bring in Emma, because I want to play a clip. This is of this big Nancy Mace row. She's obviously introduced a bill to bar transgender women from facilities on Capitol Hill. This is a week after the Republican-elect Sarah McBride made history by becoming the first openly transgender person elected to Congress. Let's take a look at the Nancy Mace explanation as to why she's doing this.
This effort in response to Congresswoman McBride's coming to Congress?
Yes, and absolutely, and then some. I'm not going to stand for a man, if someone with a penis is in the women's locker room, that's not okay. And I'm a victim of abuse myself. I'm a rape survivor. I have PTSD from the abuse I've suffered at the hands of a man. And I know how vulnerable women and girls are.
I mean, she makes it sound like she's just like traumatized by penises in general.
Private spaces. So I'm absolutely 100% going to stand in the way of any man
she cries when she
who
sees
wants
hot
to
dogs.
be in a women's restroom, in our locker rooms, in our changing rooms. I will be there fighting you every step of the way.
Now, Emma, Sarah McBride replied by saying this is a blatant attempt from far right-wing extremists to distract from the fact they have no real solutions to what Americans are facing. To which I say, well, I'm not even vaguely right, and I think it's wrong that biological men who've become trans women should be in women's spaces.
You're not vaguely right, Piers?
No,
I would say I'm in the center. You agreed with Glenn Beck.
No, I would say that
exactly. But, in the country repeatedly.
But rather
apparently something's happening
hang on,
I haven't finished Bill Maher and someone you saw on TikTok.
He does a lot of talking, doesn't he?
Let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
1, 2, 3, 4 people.
I do not identify. And I know you believe a lot in self-identity. I do not identify as conservative.
I don't know what that means.
I'm like Bill Maher. I'm just completely bemused by the woke left and how nuts you've all got, right? And I think this.
I love how he uses Bill Maher.
Hang on, let me finish. I haven't asked you a question yet.
I mean,
let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Right? Here's my question. If I, as a man who identifies as a liberal, if I can see why it's so wrong for biological men who have now become trans women to be in women's spaces, to be in women's sport, to be everywhere in women's lives where they historically were not biological men supposed to be, Why are you not as exercised by this as a woman?
He's so obsessed with this. He's so obsessed with this.
All about women's rights.
First of all, absolutely. I host a sports podcast. I care deeply about sports, and I believe that anybody that identifies as a woman should be able to participate in the sport as long as it abides by the particular bylines or guidelines.
You know it's wrong. You know it's unfair.
Said sports league, but actually we're talking here about Nancy Mace, who
on the sports
loves
league,
the camera in her face and loves attention.
No, it's kind of funny because now this is just gonna now because also they're like they did the thing to I forgot her name. I'm on something from the Olympics. They're going to literally start testing every, I'm sorry, I'm going to use the term, but butch, girl on a sports team, if you have broad shoulders or if you're too tall, they're going to just be like, oh, we got to make sure that your chromosomes are right. Let's see what's in those pants.
Wherever she can get it.
Yeah.
I find it pretty disgusting that she is basically
That's literally
implying
where this is
this
going.
trans lawmaker, just by being in her presence in the bathroom, may rape her. I do choose to speak up for women's rights. I believe that I do so on my program, The Majority Report, regularly. And I'm disgusted that Nancy Mace has decided essentially to support Donald Trump wholeheartedly, who has been found liable of sexual abuse in court, and multiple of his cabinet appointments, picks, including Pete Hegseth and Matt Gaetz, have been credibly accused of sexual assault themselves. So apparently it's triggering for her because someone's genitalia may be slightly different in the stall next to her.
When you say credibly accused,
but it doesn't matter to her that Trump has been found
Are you going to let? See, that's the thing. No, you don't get that. No, see, this is him. This is him literally being disrespectful of his guests, women, and the fact that this is all about him. This is all an ego boost for him.
He denied it, as you know.
And
in
Look at me, I make the
case of Gaetz and Pete Hegseth,
so the preponderance of evidence went in her direction. And she's been
all right, keep talking.
He has been accused by dozens of women. There you go.
Are you finished?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
When we have a debate, the customary for the host leads it, and you respond to questions, okay? If I may be so bold. The point is that Hesketh and Gaetz have categorically denied any wrongdoing, and none has been proven against them. In Trump's case, it was a civil action, as you know, not a criminal action. The criminal case against him was shuffling paperwork over an alleged one-night stand with a porn star. So it's not quite how you categorized it. Deborah Lee, let me bring you in here.
Has this trans lawmaker been accused of rape? Has this trans lawmaker
No, but actually, if you are a congresswoman, if you're a congresswoman who survived sexual assault, you should be entitled to feel safe in the restroom.
The presence of a trans woman in
Blood So by Stars. Hey, back from work, listening to the stream while doing chores. Hey.
the bathroom. Oh gosh,
Based on our conversation about chores yesterday, make sure that you're prepped.
I've gone to the bathroom next to a man. Oh my goodness, it was so fearful.
Oh, dude, Piers would lose his collective shit if he went to a concert at the Vic, because they started, not only is it co-ed bathrooms, but they have like a small section where it's like the little swing doors that have urinals, and the rest of them are just, stalls. So, but the thing is, you all have to line up in the same line to use the same bathroom. So it's men and women being in the same space. Oh my God.
I would actually be quite fearful if you.
It's also crazy. I've been to London, and I've been to some pubs where, oh my God. You know how they're built? They're usually they usually have like a little stairwell, or they have like a hallway that's very small. They don't even have like bathrooms. What they have are stalls that are just attached to the wall, and you just go in there. And like, it's literally, there's no door except for that stall door. Weird.
If I found you lurking next to me in a men's restroom, I'd feel fearful. Deborah Lee, let me bring you in here. I just think
that is a ridiculous accusation, Piers.
I didn't make an accusation. It was a statement of fact. I would feel fearful.
You would feel uncomfortable? Why would you feel uncomfortable?
If you were lurking around me in a men's urinal, damn right I'd feel uncomfortable.
Lurking? Who's lurking?
Well, what else would you be doing there?
Is this lawmaker lurking?
What else would you be doing there?
Going to the restroom.
I don't want you going to my restroom. Stick in your own restroom.
We all know that Piers is the first guy to see an empty bathroom with one person using a urinal, and he goes right to the one next to him. He's that guy.
For my safety, never mind yours.
Okay, would a man be lurking? Would a biological man, is he lurking next to you?
That's the whole point.
Why is there something inherently perverted about going to the bathroom? You right-wingers, and yes, I'm including you in this with this classical liberal BS, are so bad.
They're so repressed about their own, like, again, their own parts that they're just like, oh.
To trans people inherently, and that is a bigoted
No,
statement.
I want trans people to have. I want them to have fairness and equality like the rest of us, just not where it erodes women's rights.
Yeah,
but Deborah Lee, you've been listening to this patiently.
But separate
All
but
right,
equal.
Emma,
Separate but equal.
We're four
right,
people
Piers?
on the panel.
I would like to respond to this.
Deborah, your response.
Hey.
As somebody who grew up as an athlete, I would be terrified if there was a man in my sports, in my leagues, playing against me. My own brother, who's 2 years older than me, anytime we would play basketball against each other, he would knock me down. And you say that you speak up for women's rights, but have you heard about the case in Virginia where a man put on a skirt even though he went with male pronouns?
Real quick. Piers Morgan can shut the fuck up over the genetic testing shit, considering Princess Anne was exempt from it in the 1976 Olympics because she was British royalty. Everyone else had to undergo testing except for her. British people complaining about the fairness in sports can shut the F up about it forever, LMAO.
And went into the bathroom and sexually assaulted a 15-year-old girl, and now the parents are suing the school because they tried covering it up. You want to protect women? We're not saying that every single trans person has violent tendencies, but it's opening this up that any single person, if there's no checks on this, any man can put on a skirt, say, I'm a woman, and go into the bathroom, and it's paving the way to make it easier for predators to attack women. And I don't know why you're so offended that.
God, they really do think it's just like, hey, Johnny, you know what I'm about to do? You got the skirt? All right, well, I'm about to go in this lady's bathroom. Don't come in for another 10 minutes. Keep a lookout, all right? We're going to be pretty ladies tonight. We're going to go have ourselves a good time, if you know what I'm saying.
That women want to be able to use the bathroom without men in their presence. That is something that is totally normal and fair to ask.
I just find it amazing. Honestly, I find it amazing that on the left, if we talk about abortion, all hell breaks loose. Women should be protected.
Bloodstone by Stars. People don't have to dress up in opposite gendered clothes to enter a public restroom, LOL. I go into the men's room when the women's room is full.
Women must feel
what? Bloodstone? How dare you?
Hey, women must have rights. Women should have autonomy over their body.
You're going to retroactively make Piers Morgan's head explode. You're going to be solely responsible for his demise.
And yet, when it comes to sport, you're quite happy for biological males. Or let's put it this way.
You know what?
Put it this way. Hang on. You've got to let.
Do you sing David Bowie's "Rebel Rebel" when you're doing that?
Finish your question.
I think it's a little different.
You've got to let me finish your question.
Parking lots because they can't
Sorry,
get their health care.
Emma, you really are not familiar with how these things work.
No, Piers.
You have to let me ask a question.
Should Yao Ming have been banned from the NBA because he's too tall?
Yeah,
I mean, we've
that's
got
actually
to,
a really good.
Be fair and
that's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
When
you have a boxer.
All these MFers probably use disability stall. Their opinions on bathrooms are invalid. I'm guilty.
Olympics boxing, winning a gold medal.
I don't use it when
who has
like
male chromosomes and who beat up one of his opponents.
Okay, based on a Russian.
Okay, I have never once had it happen where I'm in the handicap stall and I open the door and there's just a guy in a wheelchair or somebody else that is, waiting for the handicap stall with a disability waiting for me. But if it does happen, it's going to be my nightmare.
So one of his opponents, her opponents, whatever you want to call this boxer.
I'll go back and let me clean that seat
it's
for
so
you.
boring for everyone watching. They can't hear us if you do that, right?
I mean, this is your whole shtick. I mean, you've been doing debates about the genocide in Gaza.
Am I going to have to mute you? Because honestly, everyone is sick of this now. Just please conduct yourself properly in a debate. Otherwise, we get nowhere, right? Let me bring in Amala. You've been waiting patiently. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, I just have a.
I hate to say, it's not about her conducting herself great in a debate. She's doing very well. It's the fact that this is a panel and Luke and,
Question, how many more anecdotes do you need of women and young girls being assaulted due to these laws and regulations for you to actually care about it? I've heard many stories. I'm in Los Angeles.
Until you give me a statistic.
In Los Angeles, we had a grown man. Here in WeSpa in Los Angeles, we had a grown man actually go into the women's locker room at a spa, expose themselves to all the women there, all of the young girls there. In Loudoun County, Virginia, you had a young girl who was raped in her school bathroom, a place where she is meant to feel safe, by a trans identifying student. In the state
Weird how you care about that, but what's his name? Brock Turner? Weird how you guys don't say anything about that when it's just, a frat boy. You guys like to focus on the trans issue because you want to just be afraid of whatever the hell you're afraid of. Like, when, TERFs, I don't understand TERFs in the slightest. I really don't. Like, do they see a trans woman that's hotter than them and then immediately go like, oh, well, God,
of New Jersey in their prison system,
is that
they
why
allow
they care?
trans-identifying women.
I know that's why guys care. Like, for real, I'm not even kidding. Like, that's why these guys, like these conservative dudes care so much, because I've been part of this conversation. I know, inside baseball, but for real, in a locker room, I heard the conversation where they're just like, yeah, you know what, they're passing so much easier. Some of them are even hotter than, they'll even say like, they're even hotter than real chicks, dude. So like, I don't want to be fooled one day.
Go ahead and move.
That's where that comes from. It's just literally how base and stupid they are.
Over to the women's facility that ended up with 2 pregnant inmates.
Also, how they don't understand their own sexuality, which is kind of hilarious.
These situations are 100% avoidable, and we are in no way characterizing all trans women as being predatory in nature by any means.
What are you doing?
It is to say that you are opening a door that needs to remain closed, and our comfort does matter.
As long as it's not a bathroom stall door.
Safety does matter.
And by the way, Amala,
we agree
hang on, Emma, I'll come back to you. Emma, I'll come back to you. But also fairness matters too. So the United Nations 2 weeks ago had a report that said just under 900 medals have been won by trans athletes in women's sport, thus depriving biological actual women from winning medals because they are literally not as strong, not as powerful, do not have the endurance of the trans women athletes because they have male physiology. How can that be right?
Absolutely.
900 medals.
So Piers.
Yes. Explain to me. Why don't you care?
First of all, So
See,
why don't I care
what
about
he just
that?
did right there? I'm gonna just say that's part of his debate tactics. Like just that little thing where why don't you care after he made his point? Because when she starts talking, the second that like, 'cause she has a thought in her head, then he does the why don't you care? Then it turns into a different question. That is the dirty fucking tactic that I'm glad she's not falling for. And also, you guys need to be on the lookout anytime somebody starts doing that to you because that's the Gish Gallop. I hate that tactic. I always call it out when people try to debate with me where I'm just like, you just tried to Gish Gallop me, especially me being a stoner. I do take offense to it because it's just like, you know where I stand on this and you know I'm going to forget what I was talking about. Come on.
Is the fact that this should be determined by those specific bodies. It's not at the top of my priority list.
Some are male, some are female. That's why we separate the Olympics.
That women are bleeding out in parking lots. That trans youth are committing suicide at extremely high rates because of this exact kind of rhetoric where you otherwise
this kind of
gender identity of their choice.
What, you mean standing up for women's rights? If trans care was
available to all of these kids, if trans care was available to these kids, they would develop in the exact same way where none of this would even matter. And so
I thought you guys were for parental rights too, because that's the weird thing. Now you're taking the rights away from parents that want to let their kids transition. See, they don't ever bring that up. How legit...
was being said before about these assaults
another
on other
right
people.
gone,
That's
another parental right gone. But yeah, then you get to hear about how Linda McMahon is all for parental rights.
Said before about assaults on these people. I think they should be prosecuted, and definitely I'm completely against the idea that we should let someone slide just based on their identity if they assault somebody, which is why I'm sure everybody on this panel that is obsessed with this issue has been talking repeatedly over and over again about the rape in male prisons by male prisoners repeatedly against their same biological gender.
That's
in fact, it happens.
Yes, it is.
Right. So how many?
But you know what you don't. You know what you never hear, Emma. You know what you never hear. You never hear. You never hear.
Not about this
Emma.
from you.
I mean,
you never hear about a trans man having an unfair advantage in male sport. Why is that? How come we never hear about that?
There are trans men because
you know why?
You know
why? Because they don't win.
Moral panic,
they don't
just
win
like it was
because they have inferior physiology.
Just
you hear that, guys? You hear that?
Like it was about how seductive.
We don't hear about it because it's not an issue because they can't win.
No.
Let me bring in Luke.
Because these are issues that are titillating to white liberals or
titillating.
white
How weird you would say titillating.
Suburbs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, what's ridiculous is that
for you it clearly is.
Oh my God, it's a trap. Me and I haven't heard that kind of talk since the mid to late 2000s.
In our prisons and in our
you haven't asked me about that.
Our facilities
you
in this
haven't asked
country.
me about that.
But I just did. Why haven't you been talking about male rape and male
I think it's terrible.
Way
Shameful.
more likely to occur than a
yeah, Luke, jump in.
Then dedicate more segments to it then. Dedicate more segments to it.
I'll take your advice on what segments we should be doing. We are the fastest growing YouTube channel.
Real quick, guys, Outsmoke, who is a frequent viewer, he had to take a drug test for his job. He just passed clean. So let's shout out Outsmoke.
In the world. So we're probably getting it about right. Luke.
Okay, yeah. So I do think with all these things, even the Lake and Riley case as an example, we always want to be understand the gravity and the pain of the individual stories that we're talking about that connect to larger issues, but then also include the broader context, which is that with this bathroom issue, you don't see in the data increase in assaults with trans people in the bathroom they identify with, but you do see when they're forced to go into the bathroom they don't identify with or that's aligned with the biological sex they were born as, an increase in assaults on the trans person. So that's important to remember. And I don't think we need to merge every single issue because I think, as Emma referenced, but as a lot of people acknowledge, while we don't understand what the fixation is necessarily or why this is used to distract from all these other more consequential issues, I don't think most people have an issue with leagues, especially professional leagues, implementing restrictions to make sure things are fair. Sometimes that's have you transitioned enough?
But they're literally pretending like we're just like, no, you need to open it and make it fair for, anybody who's trans and identifies. It doesn't matter their sports prowess, but they're going to give them an in, but not my daughter. Like they're so messed up in the way that they think about this, and it's also they don't
that it's fair.
They're so inconsistent.
And I don't think that debate is actually going on. Like
I'm pulling an Emma.
This program might make it out to me.
We're going to move on to another. We're going to move on to something else. I mean, look,
I'd like to see Piers go toe to toe with a roller derby chick and see who was more physically superior, in my opinion. You know what? I'd like to see him go toe to toe with just any, female wrestler. Like Jamie Hayter is a British wrestler. Let's see him go toe to toe with her.
I don't think there is any debate to be had about the sport issue. I totally agree.
But on the bathroom.
Well, hang on. I totally agree with Trump about the sports thing. Trans women athletes should not be allowed to compete against women. They should have their own category, or they should compete against a category most of them used to compete in, which is the men's category. But the reason they don't is they're making...
Wow, you really don't understand how hormones work, do you?
Making far more money
and bone density and any of that, because he wants to sit there pretending that men have their physiology is so superior. Well, again, dude, so now you're just what? You want to beat up on trans people? Is this it? This seems kind of coded that this is like actually what you want. You just want them in men's leagues so you can beat up on them
because they have an unfair advantage.
This also goes into like, they should stay in male prisons. They should stay in male prisons.
That's
like,
what's wrong with it.
Anyway,
I want to move on to Jon
with
Stewart
this.
talking
It's
about
so
Mika
messed
and Joe
up.
from...
Honestly, sometimes the women's bathroom is horrendous. Just a bunch of animals going wild. You know
MSNBC.
what? So I had a situation where I had to do a community service thing. I had to clean the women's bathroom. That was my first experience and I was also like, what the fuck?
Who went down to kiss the Trump ring after calling him Hitler for a few years. Let's take a look.
So clean and organized.
Joe and Mika Brzezinski Scarborough, who famously warned of...
I can't do this. Sorry. I can't use that clip.
As a point, I like Mika and Joe, and actually I think there's nothing wrong with them not trying to build bridges with Trump, but they did all call him Hitler and a fascist.
No, they didn't.
And an existential threat to democracy.
See?
And if
he can't go one show without saying it. Not one.
Do you really believe
he
that?
Is
it's a bit
pathetic.
like Biden inviting Trump for a little,
oh my God, at some point I want to go on his show so I could just be like, so when are you going to bring up the Hitler thing? Can we get that out of the way first?
In America, if you really think he's a fascist, if you really think he's a neo-Nazi, why would you do that?
It's so disingenuous, and that was a lot of Republicans'
Emma, I'll come to you, especially if you agree with me.
You have your time,
groundbreaking moment.
Don't worry.
But Deborah, you go first.
Joe Biden put on the Donald Trump hat, and as somebody who is a very proud Jew, I'm sick, and we're all sick of the left, even the right, using Jewish atrocities to try and garner the vote for their horrific policies that don't help Jews, they don't help Americans, they don't help anybody, they just destroy America. And so I think it's disgusting that people have been calling Trump Hitler, but it also aligns. They want us to believe that they're saying Trump is Hitler, but then also we have such safe and secure.
What is it about conservative women and being pick-me's? Like, they just literally, all of them have pick-me energy.
Elections in the past, and they would never do anything in this country to ever
first
stop
ones to be
Trump from winning
surprised
the
that their
election.
boyfriends cheat on
If you
them.
thought Donald Trump was truly modern-day Hitler and would be a horrific leader to this country, would you not genuinely do everything in your power to stop him from getting into office?
Of course.
Because if I truly believed that Joe Biden was Hitler, I would do everything, legal or not, to try and stop him from getting into office, because Hitler is the worst person in probably all of history, but definitely modern history.
Do you know what? I went to the. Do you know what, Deborah? I went to the.
Exterminator.
I went to the Madison Square Garden rally. Do you know how many protesters turned up when Hitler came to the middle of Manhattan, the great liberal democracy, in their iconic venue? 150 bothered to get off their lazy backsides from screaming Hitler.
He's the only one that's calling it. See, again, the only person calling Donald Trump Hitler like over and over and over is Piers Morgan.
For fascism for years.
Les Wiseman, his VP,
they couldn't be bothered.
called him Hitler.
It's
Yes,
like
exactly.
At a Trump rally.
It's like they didn't believe what they were
JD
saying,
Vance,
right?
Yeah, I can't even bring
Emma,
that
you
up.
wanted to agree with me, so I'll come to you.
So there you go. I do agree with you that I think it's pretty disingenuous and crazy that Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough went down there and kissed the ring, or as our producer on our show referred to it, Matt Leck, kiss the onion ring, which was pretty funny given Trump's proclivity for fast food. And it speaks to, yes, the hollowness of our corporate media in terms of what they actually say and believe. The person who actually first really said the Hitler thing was Trump's former chief of staff, who worked closely with him. Yep. Also, Trump's ex-wife, Ivana, in their divorce proceedings,
that one out.
That Trump had a book of Hitler's speeches on his
Emma
bedside table. And other people have accused him of being authoritarian in the past. The problem is that, yes, our corporate media and even, frankly, many in the Democratic Party did not treat the threat that Trump poses with the respective urgency that it requires, and so it rang hollow to voters. This is a problem with the messaging of the Democratic Party, but it says it does nothing to undercut the very real threat that Trump poses. He was twice impeached in this country,
asked, I think
and the second
Emma did not do well in this trans segment.
The Democratic results of an
Yeah, unfortunately, she was like trying to kind of like stave off like what Piers normally does, but the fact that she was always going on the offensive, and then on top of it, not letting the other people get involved, like Luke. I don't know. That was my only thing, but at the same time, I'm also a little torn because Piers's way of debating is just so dirty, and the way that she is putting that like just out in front of everybody is kind of brilliant.
Resulted in a violent coup that killed multiple people. So when we talk about Donald Trump,
watch everyone from your generation because none of you has learned from history, and I actually lived through it. I watched the left get Nixon and Reagan.
Now he's learned all the wrong lessons, fast-tracking basically cronies into the administration. And yes, the media rolling over on its belly and accepting his extremist rhetoric is a big part of the problem. And yet,
wait, then what's your opinion on Henry Kissinger?
And in
actually,
in the history of fascism,
you had me
corporations capitulating to fascists.
All right.
Oh, I did. I got Trump elected. Thanks,
yes. You had me for some of that. But once you start talking about his extremist language and stuff, you're missing the point. The reason he won so big is that most Americans don't think he does have extremist views. They think a lot of it is just common sense.
Maybe you didn't tell them about it, Piers.
Luke?
That is a failure of the messaging of the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, Donald Trump
tell people about it, don't you?
has said he wants to mass deport millions of
people.
You know
the biggest mass deporter of modern times in American history?
He should mass deport.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama deported.
How about you? How about you go back to Israel? How about we start playing that game?
3 million people.
Barack Obama.
Yeah, he's the big deporter.
Fair play, right?
I'm not a Democratic hack, Piers.
All right, Luke.
Piers, I'm not a Democratic hack. I will criticize.
Clearly.
Joe Biden has been helping commit genocide for a year and a half.
All right.
That's something
Luke
you'll hear out of my mouth regularly.
Welcome to all the new viewers. I appreciate you jumping in.
Let me bring Luke in.
I'm not a hack. I call things like they are.
So I just
had a lot comes out of your mouth. I've noticed repeatedly and without breaking for breath. So have a breath. Let me bring Luke in.
I feel like I've told you this, Piers. Deborah and I just recently had a conversation on my show. I definitely clarified this for her. No one, again, relevant, prominent Democrats in positions of power are saying Trump is Hitler. Stop with that. It's the whiniest thing. No one says that. If you
really
think we
The Madison Square Garden thing was literally described as a neo-Nazi rally. A neo-Nazi
So you
rally.
can't describe it as a neo-Nazi rally,
but
but
Jewish people. There was a Holocaust survivor in the front row.
I haven't called it that. I haven't called it that. Can I please finish the dang point? The point that I don't really care about the Mika Joe thing is just sort of cringe, but much more important is that we keep going around this merry-go-round. Oh, they called him Hitler, now this, now that. I'm sure some random people on the internet say that, but again, that's not the line from Biden and Harris. That's not the line from Trump's
called him
own
a fascist.
former administration.
Trump is a fascist, not Hitler yet. Yeah, but he always see what he just did right there as you made the point. Trump is a fascist, or like they always call him a fascist. It's like, yes, again, and I've been using this joke a lot. If the jackboot fits,
call him a fascist.
Biden and Harris don't say
a fascist.
Democrats aren't
so you think he is a fascist?
That's a horrible line to live by. That's ridiculous.
All right, Luke,
okay, so what is it about just like his ability to not learn from history? And like, I mean, as much as Les wants to say that we don't learn from history, but Piers Morgan here, he's just conveniently forgetting like how, fascists just have come to power. And you don't need to even watch a biased documentary on this. You can do just like a dictionarial like look investigation just into the word fascism and then go, yeah, I guess Trump kind of is a bit of a fascist.
Clear, Luke, you think he is a fascist?
Of your behavior,
Luke,
Piers, on this
is he
show.
a fascist? Luke, is he a fascist?
Of course, he absolutely exhibits fascistic tendencies.
So why did Joe Biden invite a fascist
to
the White House?
Beasley mini David Pakman because he used to sub
I
for
wanted to
him.
mention that from Deborah's point.
But he literally, he modeled his delivery and the way he speaks after Pakman.
You respect democracy first and foremost.
You let a fascist in the room?
Will of the people. The democratic will of the people is more important than what you feel about the ideology. And it's important to point out, we have to learn from history, not to equate things, but to say, okay, what signs can we get from
So a
past
peaceful transfer of power.
And he didn't do the peaceful transfer of power. And on top of that, you want to talk about like fascism? This is the way that he's never going to be even if he goes full fash. This is a way for Piers to just be like, no, you know what? He's fine. He's going to whitewash it.
I'm curious what you would describe, Piers, what you would describe trying to illegally stay in power despite losing an election. What do you call that?
Yeah, what is that?
I thought it was completely outrageous what Trump tried to do.
Why are you obsessed with January 6th?
But I tell you,
why are you guys obsessed with trans bathroom bills?
You know why.
Outrageous.
Hang
Just
on.
outrageous.
Because you wake up and think about it all day, every day. You guys are.
Hey, Les. Lots of talkers from the left pretty much copy Pakman. It's boring. Well, guess what? I don't.
So obsessed.
Luke asked me a question. Let me answer. Here's what I think a fascist is. A fascist is somebody who wants everybody else to conform to their narrow worldview. They want to dictate how you lead your life, what books you read. Hang on. Don't all jump in. What books you read, what movies you can watch. Hang on.
No, it's
Try
incorrect.
hard, Emma. Just take a little vow of silence for a few seconds. Right? What heroes you're allowed to admire, what statues you can respect, what clothes you can wear, what songs you can listen to, blah, 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 blah. So you know who the actual purest personification of a modern-day fascist is? A member of the woke brigade, because that's exactly what the woke people do. They behave like fascists, and you may not want to hear it, but trust me, you do.
Based on your definition of fascism,
someone told about Joe, cancel him, destroy him, fire him. It's fascism.
Yes. Fascism is apparently liberal college students being a little bit too sensitive with their pronouns. It's not a highly militaristic,
we should get rid of all pronouns.
Political ideology
get rid of
born
all
out
pronouns.
of Hitler and Mussolini.
Get rid of them.
Yeah,
so
you know why? Because the most
he, him.
I hope Democrats go on with the pronouns.
Yeah, get rid of he, him, then.
Why are you watering down fascism, which resulted in the mass...
Hold on. Sorry. Got a good point come in here. Duke of Bread, Trump quoted Hitler on accident or on purpose. Either is bad. They call for the largest deportation in world history. Piers has no idea what fascism is, LOL. He is describing authoritarian policies. Yeah, no shit. And he doesn't even see it that way, where it's like,
you the fascist.
What do you mean?
You're watering down fascism by saying Donald Trump is a fascist.
All right, real quick. Fascism is a far-right authoritarian ultranationalist policy, political ideology, and movement characterized by dictatorial leaders, centralized autocracy, militarism, and forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interests for the perceived good of the nation or race, and strong regiment of society and economy. Dude, did anything that Piers said there kind of fit that bill?
You've done that yourself.
Yeah.
I never said that. I said he ran a fascist campaign.
I said he ran a fascist campaign.
Don't all talk over each other. We can't hear you.
You guys are the ones that are watering down
Piers,
what that
you
means.
set up this false premise. Piers, you set up a false premise and a false definition that meets no academic standards of what fascism is. I just laid it out for you. Fascism is a highly militarized, nationalistic political ideology that often involves corporate power consolidating with the state. See Elon and Trump going together? That talks about a mythologized past that we need to return to.
Also, can we start calling them out on just calling everybody commie? Like, they literally have been doing that since, like, the late 1950s. Hey, maybe. Just maybe we could push back with that.
By demonizing either political
make
opposition
America great again.
or specific migrant groups. Exactly. But the specific immigrant
How weird
group,
you would describe that as
targeting
fascism.
the mass deportation is, you could describe it as ethnic cleansing in some of the more extreme circumstances.
Let me bring in Amala.
No, I'm using an academic definition of fascism. Not this pop garbage.
Do my ears in, Emma. Amala, is making America great again a form of fascism? Because it goes back in America.
Les Wiseman. Okay, give it to Emma. She got the definition right. Hey, it's almost like we're not all uneducated.
Not in my opinion, no. I think people have really run with this whole, I don't know, shall we call it slogan, and made it into something that it is very much not. America has virtually always been great, in my opinion, especially with its ideals and its values. And when we talk about these two journalists who chose to go...
Yeah, I mean, you did the same thing with woke. You made it a joke. Haha. And now you're going broke.
Go to Mar-a-Lago and sit across from Donald Trump. I think we saw Sonny Hostin of The View say, how can you really speak truth to power if this is how you're going to treat Donald Trump? How else do you speak truth to power if you won't go and sit at the table across from it? When we talk about Mika and Joe, the real problem is that they've likened him to Hitler. They've called him a fascist. They called him a threat to democracy. It's not a problem that they're going to Mar-a-Lago.
Examples are just a bunch of liberal shills.
To speak to one of the most powerful people in the world.
I totally
agree with you. If they maintain their journalistic integrity, that's more than okay.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I want to switch gears slightly.
Of course you do.
Hang on, Luke. I want to change gears.
Of course you do.
We've got a few minutes left. I want to talk about the nominee picks, which I'm sure have sent you into some form of metaphorical anaphylactic shock. But let's go through them. I mean, here's why I look at it in totality. A, I'm going to wait for them to see who gets confirmed. B, I want to wait and see them what they do. Then I will pass judgment. But actually, if you look at a lot of them, like Linda McMahon, unbelievably successful entrepreneur in America.
Yes. Oh, yes. You mean the one who Vince McMahon married when he was like 2 or 3 years older. So he was 18 and she was like 15 when they hooked up. Yes, she's such an entrepreneur. She's the reason. Come the F on.
Building one of the great businesses
What's the actual,
in modern America.
And yeah, now it's just like, oh yeah, we're going to make her the Department of Education. What? You mean the woman who sent her kids to like the most private of private schools?
Billions and billions of dollars pouring in. Very strong educational bent. Why wouldn't you want someone like that running a big department in the American presidency administration?
So just quickly closing thought on the last thing. It's crazy that we do this. Like I said, merry-go-round, we go back and forth on the fashion stuff. We're just saying, I don't like that Trump posts on Truth Social a massive fraudulent type of magnitude allows termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even though it's found in the Constitution, saying that the Constitution should be terminated.
Can we move on to the other thing? Because you're getting a bit in the weeds.
Last thing, I don't like that the...
See, again, can we move on to the other thing? No, because you didn't let anybody get another point in. Weird how that works when you have somebody that's actually willing to challenge you on your own show. I mean, how dare they?
He said the government should come down hard on MSNBC. Stuff
like
that.
He's just like,
it's kind of fascist.
How dare you not give me the last
fact
word.
that we point that out is not us calling him Hitler. But yes, I don't think on some of them they will be less controversial. And then, yeah, I'm really concerned that, for example, Matt Gaetz could be our next Attorney General. That gives me a major
Not anymore.
Deborah?
I'm excited.
sorry,
I think that this has
No,
so
Emma,
far
your name's not
on my
Deborah.
end been the
Sorry, Emma,
I
come
thought
on.
you said my name.
so far his appointments have been the most pro-Israel members and the most
I heard my
pro-America
name.
members. I think Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, these are all incredible people that I have looked up to for a long time, good, true leadership, and I'm so excited. I think that this is the dream team, and we're going to make America. I agree with Amla, of course. America has always been fabulous, but we can always improve and get back to the great values like freedom of speech, like protecting women, protecting children, having fair, free economy, and supporting small businesses, and everything that truly makes America the most
I'm going to say something kind of sexist about her. I can't wait till she's on her third husband.
fabulous, amazing country in the history of the world. So
dude.
I'm excited. I think this is going to be even better than the last administration, and we have a lot of work to do. And having the House and the Senate, hopefully that means that we can really just knock out legislation and take back this country to what we know it can be, which is a great free light that the rest of the world looks at and wishes they could be us, which they still do.
All right, but Deborah, Matt Gaetz, Attorney General, really?
So on that one, there was an article put out by Fox where they actually granted anonymity to a lot of GOP House members and Senate members, where they were saying that they don't believe that he's going to get confirmed, that they're not going to confirm
What do you
him.
think?
So like you, Piers, I'm also waiting now. I'm not so sure that they will confirm him, but at the end of the day,
what do you think about it?
I could see it happening.
What do
Do
you
I think
think
I
about
should
it?
confirm him? Personally, I do not. I think that it's important for me to have strong leadership and
God,
people
she
who
doesn't
can be
wanna get canceled by the
examples.
right.
And while I do believe, I don't just think that we should believe all women who make accusations. I think it's important to elect people who young men and women can look up to and really feel confident in. So I would prefer somebody who was maybe a little bit more experienced, maybe somebody a little bit less controversial. But I do like the things that he says. I think he's funny, and I think he would do a good job as press secretary.
Oh, you just need to go and date him, because
too, because
you'd have a real good time
he doesn't
with that
care.
one.
He knows exactly what to say,
Okay,
and she's 100% Matt Gaetz, which I respect.
Okay, Emma, I assume you hate all of them, so let's just choose the three you hate most.
Oh gosh, I mean, I'll just essentially say that I think the Linda McMahon point is really unfortunate. I don't really care if somebody can make a lot of money, specifically the McMahons did on union busting their workforce. I care more about if they care deeply about education policy and making sure that we don't gut the Department of Education, which has been a stated goal of the Trump team. I'm deeply concerned about the Trump administration's plans to gut the administrative state,
Let me come back to you on education. I mean, given how far behind America is in the global league tables on so many education metrics, why are you comfortable about the way the Department of Education has run things for the last few decades? They're getting
I am absolutely not comfortable with it. I believe
China and countries like that.
Well, if you're a student with disabilities, good luck.
in part due to Republican policies, including Betsy DeVos and other Republican states furthering voucher programs that suck public money and funnel them into private institutions. So.
What about the 8 years of Bill Clinton, the 8 years of Barack Obama?
The Biden administration
what about
did
the 4
bit
years
better.
of Joe Biden?
I did not agree.
Don't just blame Republicans.
I mean, yes, unfortunately, voucher programs were a little bit more bipartisan back during the Obama days, but we just saw it got rejected in a red state.
That isn't why America's falling so far
Andy
behind.
Beshear. You're not letting me finish my sentence. I mean, for all your accusations with me, you're cutting me off in the middle of what I'm saying.
Please finish.
I'm saying what I'm concerned about for the Trump administration. So I'm concerned that they are, as they have stated, going to
see, and right there, he was hoping that she would have forgotten her point because she was angry about getting interrupted. He really is just he's a prick of a debater.
Gut the administrative state,
that is such a dirty, underhanded
our
move.
Department of Education, the Department of Transportation, all of these things that make the government function. His essentially stated goal has been to do away with them. The Republican Party also has for the past 100 years, been trying to gut Social Security. I believe that they also want to cut into Medicare and Medicaid when they talk about race.
Wes Wiseman, Dems have to fix everything GOP break. It's hard to catch back up. Yeah, I agree with that. Duke of Bread, his questions are so dishonest. Right.
In the retirement age, that's essentially a cut. These are programs that Social Security keeps nearly 2/3 of our seniors out of poverty. I am terrified about that prospect, and that is what and so I don't think it's liberal hysteria because I'm concerned about people going into poverty. And if you want to make it about blue-haired weirdos on TikTok, sure, but these have material consequences for the majority of our population.
Okay, Amala, before we finish, I want to talk to you just completely separately about
Duke of Bread. I'm concerned more about defunding education. Yeah, notice how they're so concerned about, that, but they're also, quadrupling down on, bathroom bills and trans language. Like, they're teaching our kids about trans, and my daughter is going to go to school and she's going to come back a boy. Like, they're so dumb. They really are just the dumbest people.
P. Diddy, because you've had a very interesting experience with Diddy. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so just yesterday, we had two private investigators, the day before yesterday, go ahead and visit an old residence of mine. They showed up at the door. Now, a friend of mine remains at that residence. She answered the door. These two men were claiming to be there to talk to me about my YouTube channel, whether or not I received funding for any of the stories or topics that I cover on my show. She ended up giving me a call. I was able to speak to these two men as they were at her door. And through lots of probing and asking them several questions about who they work for and why they were at my door, they end up admitting that they are private investigators who are working on behalf of a client that they would not disclose, traveling around to the houses of influencers, knocking their doors and trying to figure out whether or not they've been paid by a certain institution, company, entity to discuss P. Diddy's lawsuits and his connection to other celebrities. Now, upon finding out that I was not paid, they also let me know that had they found out I was paid by a certain company, entity, client, they would offer to pay me to disclose exactly who that was, and they'd like to know the business deal that I made with them in order to pay me more to promote the opposite narrative. So,
well, at that point, you just start making up names and organizations and just take their money.
Wow.
Then just be like, okay.
Obviously, I was taken aback by this visit. Very, very strange.
Very strange.
My benefactor is Optimus Prime. Yeah, you know what? The Cybertronians, they're really gunning for you.
Strange. And there's a lot of stuff swirling around about this case. I suspect we've only heard the half of it so far, but thank you for sharing that. And yeah, very, very concerning, actually, the way that went down with you.
It was the Democratic Gestapo because they were with Diddy, and Diddy is, he's a Democrat, right?
Thank you to my panel.
I swear to God, that's what he's been trying to pull.
Lovely to have you on Uncensored. Let's end on a happy note, shall we?
Hi, nice to meet you, Piers.
Luke, good to see you again. Deborah, good to see you again. And Amala, thank you very much again for coming back on. I appreciate it.
I mean, Emma both handled herself very well there, but also at the same time, I hate to say it, she also did kind of a disservice to herself in certain segments there because she was getting, caught off guard. Well, not off guard even. It's just like, because that's the one thing I really got to give her a lot of credit on is when he tried to pull that Gishgal BS, she stayed on topic. She did not, start focusing or like lose her train of thought, which I know that she smokes. Like, she is definitely a partaker like me. And yeah, you know what? I can't do that. This is also why I admit, and I hate that too when people try to debate me. I'm just like, yo, you have to understand that if you interrupt me, there's a good chance that I am going to forget what I was saying. And if you're bad faith, then you could just be like, I'm not here to support you. It's just like, what are we doing? Unfortunately, I hate when that happens, but I also think that Luke could have helped further some of her points. He seemed to kind of be on that way. Also, he was actually making the point that I was really waiting to be made was about the Hitler stuff. Like, he needs to be called on that as much as possible now. He's such a whiny little biatch. But yeah, I hope you guys liked that segment. If you haven't already, like the stream. Also, subscribe if you have not. I'd really appreciate that. Hop into chat and leave a comment on the when I make this into a video. So, no, I do appreciate you guys sticking around. So, but yeah, I'll see you in the next one.